Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Sharewise webinar. I'm excited today to bring in the CEO and one of the managing directors, I should say, of Estrella Resources, Christopher Daws. I'm excited. He is as well. We just had a little bit of a quick chat before, and there's a lot of key topics he wants to go through and their plans for the next 6 to 12 months. My name is Harry McCaskill. I'm one of the senior advisors here. And I just want to thank Chris for taking his time out of his busy schedule and having a little bit of a presentation for you guys there listening and a bit of a Q&A at the end, so you guys can be a little bit more interactive with him. As most of you know, obviously Estrella based out in WA and focused on a few key emerging minerals and advanced mineral projects in WA. But I'll let Christopher take over, give his little presentation, and I'll let him take it away. But Christopher, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks, Harry. Appreciate to be online and appreciate some of the viewers listening in and listening to the Estrella story, which is emerging. It's quite exciting.
Yeah, it does look very, very exciting. I've been following you guys for quite a while, and yeah, it looks exciting, and I'm sure a few people listening are gonna get a few key insights today. So if you just share your screen and we can get underway.
Yep, and I would like to do that if I can work out how to share screen on the avatar name change.
There should be a green button where it just says share screen.
Yep, and I'm doing that.
And I'll keep you posted if it works all right. It's nice and cold here in Sydney, that's for sure. It's raining. It's not the sunniest of days here.
Here we go. Share screen, sharing screen.
All right, we've got it. We're operating.
We're operating. So you can see
at
the moment the start of the disclaimer or the front page. So we're good to go, I think.
Yeah, we're good to go. Take it away, Chris.
Thanks, Harry. Okay, so Estrella Resources is an emerging play out of Timor-Leste. It's a highly unexplored region that we've gotten involved with. I'm going to run a little bit of background about Estrella for those that don't know who we are, what we've been doing, and certainly the last couple of days we've announced a fairly significant discovery that we've made in Timor-Leste in the manganese front. I think Estrella, as an ASX listed company, we've been around since 2012. I've been involved with the company since 2017, market cap circa $7 million. I think we're probably the cheapest manganese, high-grade manganese play emerging on the ASX. So it's pretty exciting for us going forward. We have transformed from a nickel explorer over the past 5 years. The nickel market hasn't gone so well, so we've taken a pretty serious pivot and a change of the business plan to go chasing manganese offshore. It is a significant opportunity. Just a quick disclaimer, standard disclaimer. Obviously, you can read that at your leisure. It has been released to the ASX this morning, so you will be able to download this particular presentation from the ASX under the code ESR. So why Estrella? We believe that we've made a seriously positive pivot to Timor. It's a new country. It's only emerged from their independence wars 25 years ago and some obviously some turmoil. It is a country that hasn't had any modern exploration, and it sits in the Banda Arc region, which is highly prospective for copper, gold, and what we're seeing is manganese and other minerals. We're highly well supported by the government of Timor. They wish to promote their mining industry, which at the moment is fairly non-existent. There hasn't been any modern exploration in Timor for the existence of the country for the past 25 years. And when I got there over the last few years, I was staggered to find that there was not even one modern diamond drill hole drilled in the entire country, which is just hard to believe considering the amount of exploration work that's been undertaken globally over the past 10, 20 years. We've built up very strong in-country relationships, and you'll see further in the presentation, we have a joint venture with the state-owned mining company in Murak Rai. I've been in and out of the country since 2009, both privately and with Estrella over the past few years, more intimately. I've built up some good in-country relationships with all levels of government and at the local level, and it's given me the opportunity to see and find where the prospective areas in the country were and what we could go after at the time when they were released by the government after passing of the mining code in 2021. They're building out their infrastructure. They've managed to generate a strong amount of revenue from the oil and gas that was the Bayu-Undan gas field. They've been building out their infrastructure and building up the country so that it can be open for international investment. Certainly, the amount of work that's gone on in Timor in the last 10 years is clearly evident. You can move around the country on bitumised roads now. You're coming in and out of the country on serviced airlines. Qantas run daily air flights into Timor. It's very easy to get to from Perth. It's in the same time zone or within half an hour. I can fly from Perth at 6:30 in the morning and be in Dili and be out on the project areas by the afternoon. So it's in the I guess the international exploration plays. It's extremely well placed, extremely well placed for us, for a West Australian explorer to get into and get out of, and to run our teams up there. Just moving on to the board. Board has had some experience, obviously, offshore and in bulk commodities. Les Pierre, the chairman, previously is involved in bulk coal operations in Indonesia. Myself, I've been involved in the manganese early days in 2004-5 Spitfire, so I have got some manganese experience. I have travelled around the globe on various exploration plays in West Africa and Cuba and other places, but certainly Timor for me stacks up as a place that is very, very amenable to investment for exploration, and it's just a safe place, environment that I've found to operate in, and certainly with a strong backing from the government to actually see and promote the mining industry there. They really want to see their industry grow, and they've been very, very well supportive of Estrella and what it's trying to achieve over there with its exploration work. We've got a local national team that we've built up, and we continue to build. We've got a couple of national geologists that are working in the field. They're actually up in the field again in the next few days, and a local community liaison officer. You can see in this particular photo, Shanana Guzmao, who's His Excellency, the President. I was fortunate enough to meet recently, who handed Estrella their most recent awarding of the concessions in Timor.
I just want to jump in quickly. I'm not sure if the slides are changing. Just try and... Are you still meant to be on the first page? The first slide?
No.
All right, just click click slide 4. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
sorry about that. So we're good to go. Thanks, Harry.
Click, see where it says next to share and editing in the top right underneath your name? Click present. Next to on the left of editing. There you go. Click that one. Yeah, and then you can just skip through with the arrows. Yeah, here we are.
Okay, so no one saw the previous slide there. Just a quick locational slide. We're just out of Darwin. Obviously, it's a 1.5 hour flight, daily flights by Qantas. It's the shortest international flight that Qantas run daily. You'll also see there a photograph of the Port of Com, which is going to be an important part of the project going forward, but I'll get into a bit more about that in the next few slides. There's the slide there, myself and the team in Timor with Bo Nichols. Bo Nichols speaks fluent Portuguese, which is widely spoken in Timor, as well as their national language of Tetum and Bahasa. They do also speak English. So there's 4 languages over there, mainly English, Tetum, but certainly there's various other languages spoken. We've got a good solid team over there now working away, but as I said, we've got strong governmental support right at the top levels, and certainly Giuliano is personally spoken to me about the real will of getting their mining industry up and running, and he's very, very happy to see Estrella up in Timor doing the work. It is an emerging industry. They only passed their mining law in 2023. I was up there after they passed the mining law, and we got into the process of understanding what the Timorese government were going to do in relation to releasing land. I wanted to access certain areas that I knew were prospective for exploration, and particularly manganese. Estrella pre-qualified through that process and were able to bid on concessions, and we were successfully awarded concessions or won the tender process in November last year, and were officially granted the concessions in March. We're one of only 4 groups internationally that are now operating in Timor for mineral exploration. There's 3 Australian groups and 1 Timorese group. So they do have a fairly strong weighting and support towards the Australians. They obviously like what we do and how we do it. There was other bidders from China and Malaysia and Indonesia and India, but we were fortunate enough that there are very supportive of the Australian way of doing exploration. So it does have significant potential. The geology in Timor, although not highly known, we know enough about it that it is prospective for mineralisation. It has been documented by the Portuguese and Indonesians. The Portuguese were there for about 400 years before they pulled out, and then obviously they had the war with the Indonesians for independence 25 years ago. But that's all been bedded down. They've now moved forward. They've had 3 successive elections, 5-year terms. Five elections, all gone well, democratic elections. The current government's in for their 3rd term. So the stability of the country is there, but it allows us to get into the country and then start to look for and do the exploration work. And so far, we've been obviously homing in on the manganese, which is sedimentary, it's high grade, it's at surface. We've made 3 discoveries in the field with our teams in the last 3-4 months, and the most recent one, the Sica prospect. You see in this photo on the right-hand side, that's actually me standing way down in the bottom left corner there, and that surface mineralisation of manganese across the top is a supergene horizon that's been uncovered through weathering processes, and super high grade. When I say super high grade, it's in excess of 50% manganese. That's exceptional in the world of manganese exploration. The manganese ore bodies of Western Australia, think Oakover or Woody, in the ranges of 15 to 25%. They have deleterious elements in them. They have some high iron contents. The manganese that we're finding in Timor is very, very low iron, low in other deleterious elements like phosphorus, but is extremely high grade and will be highly sought after by ferromanganese mills, and obviously the steel industry, which uses the manganese for the steel making processes. So a little bit about where we're sitting. This particular map shows you where we've been locating manganese. It's our prospect areas. It's located in the very northern area northeastern area of Timor-Leste. You can see the road infrastructure running from Bacau, which is the 2nd largest city in Timor. We're out to the east of Bacau and heading out towards a place called Com, where we have an exploration base. Com has a port, which you saw in the very first slides there that I showed you. That port's capable of taking a 10 to 15,000 tonne vessel. It's a deep water port, drafts of sort of 8 to 10 metres. So getting the product in any bulk commodity, getting the product to market is the most important thing. Having the commodity is one thing, but getting it to port is the next thing, getting it to market. So as you can see by that map, the locations of the prospects are very close to the coastal highway, which is a double-lane bitumen highway. The port of Com sits off to the right of Lao Tem. It's only 30 kilometres away. The actual Sica prospect, which we announced the discovery of yesterday, the high-grade manganese that we've located there, is only 3 kilometres from the highway that runs east-west across the top of the country. So logistically, any deposit that we do locate in Timor could be developed reasonably swiftly and brought through to the markets relatively simply. But more importantly, you can see through some of those indications of the grades, regularly above 50% manganese, which is just, from my point of view, is some of the best manganese that I've ever set eyes on. I think there'll be a lot of envious manganese operators, producers, users looking at some of these assays and thinking they would love to get their hands on it. And we're very, very fortunate at Estrella being first mover into the country and actually locking up some of this land and being able to explore for this material. It's over an extensive area. Through the work that we've been doing, we're now understanding where the manganese is situated within a sedimentary horizon. We've mapped in excess of 47 kilometres of this sedimentary horizon, and we're basically in the field working along where this sedimentary horizon is coming out in the topography, and we're locating where the manganese is and documenting it, looking for the best parts of it so we can come back later and then define how large the resources might actually grow to. So it's quite exciting. It's quite large. It's extensive. It's high grade. It's close to the coast. It's close to the potential of getting it to markets. And it's why I'm actually so excited about being involved and up here and getting the work done to actually define this material and obviously define how much of it is, so you can potentially get it into production and get it to market. The other very important thing in the backdrop of all of this is that the manganese price over the last a few months, since March 15th, has exploded. The manganese price has gone from roughly $4 DMTU, dry metric ton unit, to in excess of $8, $8.50 DMTU. And that's because the world's highest grade manganese supplier at Groote Eylandt, South 32's mine, Anglo Gold, has gone offline, force majeure through the cyclone Megan that caused a massive disruption to their infrastructure, which they're still trying to comprehend how they're going to fix. We are hearing various snippets of news that's coming through that it may be a much longer extended period of shutdown, which means manganese prices should stay high, which is why we've got our skates on at the moment, trying to define these resources as quickly as we can to capture that high manganese price market. It'll be very, very interesting to see how long they stay up for, but also how quickly maybe Groote Eylandt can get back online, if it can get back online next year at all.
Just to jump in really quickly, Chris, when you were thinking about going to Timor, did you have the anticipation that the manganese was going to be so rich and so pure, or was this well above expectations?
Look, it's probably I knew it was good. I did know. I absolutely knew it was good. I did know that it was low in deleterious elements. I knew it was high grade, but I didn't know that it was so extensive. The grade's probably higher now than what I first anticipated. We're seeing stuff in the field that's even blown my expectations. Just the size and scope of the area that we're covering and the amount of manganese that we are locating and identifying has surprised me a lot. Considering that that you've got a country here been sitting there for 25 years, and there hasn't been any exploration there, and then you come in and you see some of the world's best manganese occurrences. It just has blown me away. But the main thing for us here is to determine how big this could potentially be. Could it be world class? Absolutely. What are we dealing with here? We've certainly got the tiger by the tail. It could be a very, very large high-grade manganese or multiple manganese projects that could be developed in the country for an extended period of time. So it's something that we're very excited about trying to determine and to identify and uncover. But yeah, it's certainly the size, the grade, and the amount of material we're seeing, and we're being taken to by the locals. The locals obviously have been aware of this material. It stands out. It's extremely heavy. It's black. It's very easy to identify at surface. The local villagers and farmers, they know where this material is, and they've been very open with us. They've been working with us. They've been taking us into areas that we didn't know would host manganese, but we're finding more and more and more as we're working with the local villagers. And that's the next slide that I'd like to say, is that we are working extremely well with the local communities. They are very open and willing to have us there. They want to see mining and exploration in Timor. They want to see them come out of very low, poor socioeconomic environment, and that's what mining will be able to do for them. They're very, very, very keen to see, and at all levels, to see mining exploration in Timor-Leste, which is a little bit of a flip to what we're starting to see in other areas around the globe. Even locally in WA, mining has been something that's been supported for a period of time, but it's getting harder and harder to operate.
Yeah, there's lots and lots of restrictions nowadays over in WA, because we've done a few webinars with a few exploration minerals companies and that are based in WA. It's becoming harder and harder and harder. So obviously that's a big boost and benefit to the company. Obviously being Timor, just the encouragement and the need and the want for it. Obviously it's going to help in the long run.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're welcoming him with open arms, and it's a nice feeling to have and actually make a difference as well. So we're very pleased with doing that. We've set up an office in Dili. We've set up our own lab there. We're working with the locals, nationals. We're building out the teams. But we're very close to WA. We're very close to Darwin. We're very close to be able to bring services in that specialised services in from Western Australia or Northern Territory or Queensland, and bring them into the country and train the local people and get their industry up and running and try and find world-class ore bodies there. And not only is there opportunity for manganese, there's opportunity for copper and gold. We've seen that in the geology already, but we're not concentrating on that. Just now, we want to see the manganese projects move forward and developed, but we have got an eye on the copper and gold as well, and we are testing for gold in some of the sampling that we have been doing. So that's something also to watch out for in the future for those that are out there that have got a keen eye on gold. Certainly, we have too, and there is opportunity in Timor and within our leases, particularly for copper and gold. So we have got one eye on that as well. We won't overlook it, but we're certainly focusing on the manganese. I did mention earlier that we're well and truly in lockstep with all levels of government. We've been well supported. We have a joint venture that we've recently consummated with Murak Rai, which is a national mining company. We're free carrying them through to DFS or bank feasibility, the 30%. They'll then have the opportunity to participate or in the mining, or once we go to the mining phase, they can contribute, or they can elect to go back to a 2% net smelter royalty. And the reason we've done that is under the mining code in Timor, they'll have a right to come into any project in Timor up to 30%. And we saw that as potentially a point of contention when it came to us owning 100% of the project, and then all of a sudden we lose 30% of it, and we're trying to negotiate what that 30% is worth. So we've headed that off at the gate. We've done a deal upfront with the Timorese government upfront. The benefit of that is that we have the government there sitting with us, next to us, all the way through the processes, applying for tenure, applying for the rights to go and mine, etc. They'll be there sitting with us and helping us through those processes. I just think it's just a smart move to have a government national body sitting with you as you're going through these processes. Also, they will be able to identify and locate other things around within the country that we're not currently working on, and potentially they'll be able to identify areas that we can move into. One of the other things that obviously we're wanting to do is expand our footprint in Timor rapidly and lock up some of the interesting geology and mineralisation that has been identified, not only by our teams, but also by potentially others. So having Murak Rai, the national mining company, with us, we see that as a very, very positive thing. So the next steps in Timor for us is really just making sure that we cover that ground as quickly as we can, consolidate that, look for the best of the best in terms of where the mineralisation is, and then from there, our exploration teams can then home in on looking at what those resources really, what they are, and put some numbers around them in terms of tonnes and grade. As well as expanding our land holdings, that's something that we're keen to do and look for more. And as I mentioned, copper gold is something that sits in the portfolio as well that we're keen on. That hasn't been lost on us as well, and that's something that we'll continue to investigate. So yeah, we're looking to expand and keep momentum up in the country. We've made a full commitment. We'll be there. Our portfolio of assets in Western Australia will basically be they're in a sort of holding pattern at the moment whilst we wait for the nickel market to return. If it does return, then those assets become valuable. But certainly our focus is at the moment 99.9% on growing the Timor business, or certainly building out the exploration potential and discovery.
So the company's moved away from the nickel space in the short to medium term. Obviously focusing on the manganese in Timor. What's the time frame are you thinking in terms of not only a recovery in nickel, obviously for the benefit of your of Estrella, but also in terms of the rapid growth for the Timor side of things, because you've got the price of manganese, like you said, going from $4 to $8. What's your time frame, and how quickly do you want to get things moving over there?
Look, that's a good question, Harry. I would love to see us exporting manganese out of Timor-Leste inside the next 12 months. Yep. Now that's a big call when we don't have a resource in the ground defined as yet, but I think it's doable. Looking at what we have, what we've located, I think we can get a resource together reasonably rapidly. Put some mining parameters around that. It's not like we have to build massive processing infrastructure. There may be a small amount of crushing, screening, and putting it on trucks. The nature of the material, such high grade, and so close to port, and the infrastructure that's already in place, I think we can get going reasonably rapidly, and that's something that's an ambition of the companies, and it's certainly a position of the Timorese government. I would love to see a mining operation in Timor within the next 12 months, 24 months, and that's something that we're pushing very, very hard with the work that we're doing to make that happen. And what better way for Estrella to come into the country and lead the exploration, but also lead the opportunity to actually start a mining operation in a country that doesn't have a mining industry yet. And we would be very proud to be able to lead that process with our national mining partner in Murak.
Big time. Big time.
So that's exciting. So there's another sort of capital structure backdrop. As I said at the start, there's no doubt in my mind we're the cheapest manganese play going around, probably globally, with the opportunity that we have in Timor, with the 7 million market cap. And that's really been because we've been beaten down with the nickel space for the last 5 years, and certainly the last 12 months. People saw us as a deadbeat nickel exploration play. That's completely changed. Australia's a different beast today. We are a fully focused Timor-Leste manganese play with an opportunity to find some of the best quality manganese for the world seaborne manganese trade. And there's certainly a strong amount of international interest in what we're doing. We're about to take some tour groups up in the next few weeks up to show them what we actually have in Timor, and I think they'll be more than surprised with the size and scope of what we're dealing with in Timor, and the ability for us to work with the government and the infrastructure that's in place to actually make something happen reasonably swiftly and take advantage of the manganese prices that we see today. That picture there, you can see I'm standing there with the Muac Rye and our exploration manager, Steve Warner. That's at the port of Com. And that's where we'll commence export of manganese that we see. There's a very good chance over the course of time that and we've had discussions with the government, that we'll probably end up building a dedicated port at a location away from Com. We currently use Com as an exploration base. It's a very pretty picturesque place. We don't want to completely destroy it with the mining industry, but certainly as a first point, this is somewhere where we can develop, get up on our feet and start to walk before we run. But we will be looking at using this infrastructure to export manganese to the world market. So it's pretty exciting from an Australia point of view moving forward. So that's it from me, Harry. There's any questions out there that people want to field, and I'm quite happy to answer anything that may be out there that I can answer.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I think you covered most points, and I think the outlook is very, very promising over there in Timor with the manganese, and obviously the outlook on nickel. It's a golden. No one has a crystal ball. We don't know how long that's going to take. It is so heavily beaten down, especially in the last 12 months, as we know. And earlier this year, with all the nickel mines and all the news about how tough it has been, it's just a waiting game in that regard. But we've got a question come here from Jeremy. He says, "All great. Would we accept the right takeover offer from a bigger player?" Obviously, I'm not sure if you can elaborate or go into too much detail there, but yeah, what's the outlook moving forward if someone came in and said, "Look, you're in early, can we take over?"
Yeah, look, I would say to that it's very, very early days. We would be fools to be able to give away such a prized possession that we've been able to secure, and the work that we've been able to do to secure such assets for the shareholders. We are probably sitting on, as I said, some of the best manganese exploration tenure in the globe. I truly believe that. The grade of the material, the location in where that material is situated in logistically, the value of it for us moving forward is enormous. It's not reflected currently in Australia's share price. Eventually, when the market cottons on to how good a resources these potentially could be, the share market, I have no doubts, will move. The share price will move. It's very, very early days. We are first mover into a country that has had no modern exploration. We're only one of two public listeds. We've got 500 square kilometres and we're expanding that area. We've got boots on the ground. It's part of that process of discovery process of when you're there, you find more. You do the work, you find more. To give it up now at such an early stage would be crazy. and I would employ our current shareholders to hold on and certainly wait to see what we can deliver in Timor-Leste. It won't take long, and I think we'll derive certainly a lot of value from it. So if someone was to walk through the door tomorrow and offered me double the share price, would I take it? No, I wouldn't. I think the value in Estrella going forward is a lot more than where we're currently sitting, and I just would not. I would not be giving up the golden goose just yet.
Excellent response. I think having confidence and having the right outlook is key. And it sounds like you've run into a little bit of a gold mine. So Jeremy says, thanks, needed to hear that. So I think that was a great answer there. I've got a question. Obviously, like you said, locals in Timor-Leste, don't have the specialties, don't have the expertise in the mining industry. Is that going to incur significant increase in costs, having to get current mining experts or specialties across from WA, across from Northern Territory? Is that going to be more costly, or do you think you're not going to find it any more expensive than your WA resource projects?
Yeah, look, that's another good question, Harry. We're not that far from Western Australia, not far from Darwin. There's certainly specialist mining, and West Australians inherently are very good at operating in international arenas. We're very good at moving people, equipment, training locals into developing mining or mines anywhere in the globe, and efficiently and economically. Timor-Leste is one of those places where it's extremely close to Australia. It's a short barge ride. It's a very short flight, so an hour out of Darwin. Cost-wise for us to operate in Timor is, I would say, as an international jurisdiction, is probably cheaper than anywhere in the globe. I mean, it's so close. I can't think of another location anywhere in the globe that could be any cheaper than operating in Timor. The location, the closeness, the infrastructure that's already in place. There is infrastructure in mining infrastructure in Timor. When I say mining infrastructure, they had quarrying equipment. So there's CAT equipment, there's bulldozers, there's excavators, etc. They've used those for quarrying for their road building, etc., etc. And so there is equipment there. There is people that know how to use that equipment. So it's teaching them how to use that instead of having quarries for road building bases, is quarrying manganese at surface and putting it through a few screens and crushers, which they've already got screens and crushers in Timor for their, as I said, their road building, road building in Timor. And from sending our people and training their people is quite simple. They speak English. They've gone through education. They run geology and courses through the Timorese institutions there. They've got universities there. And that's the sad thing about Timor at the moment, is there's so many young, educated young Timorese that have gone through and learnt geology over the last 10 years through the university. They spit out, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50 graduates a year. And these kids don't even have a mining industry to go to. So they've been going offshore into West Africa, into Indonesia and other places to train and to have jobs and learn the mining industry. But since we've been in Timor, we've been approached by local national Timorese wanting to come back into Timor and employ their skills that they've learned because they have a passion for mining and they want to see the Timorese mining industry grow. So we've got a list, a very long list of nationals that want to come and work for Estrella. We'd like to expand our national Timorese workforce. And as we move forward and as we expand our team and we slowly get a grip of what we actually require, and we'll build that team out. But in terms of operating there, our current cost operating in Timor is $5,000 a month. So wow. We've got 2 geologists, good qualified geologists, community liaison officer. If I was operating even a 3-man team in Western Australia, I can tell you I wouldn't be doing it for a tenth of that cost. It'll be 10 times that.
No,
It's
of
quite
course.
incredible. So it's,
Yeah.
operating Timor for me, compare it to Africa or West Africa or other locations. Wow, that's why I'm there.
Yeah. Obviously there's a lot of upside here. There's a lot of positives coming out of this Timor side of things. Is there a reason why you don't think there's any other bigger players that have jumped on? I mean, earlier to you, because I mean, I'm sure I mean, I would imagine you're not the only one that's thought of it. Why do you think no one has jumped on the boat?
Look, I to be honest, Harry, I'm staggered a little bit as well, by the fact that there has been that we're it in Beacon. I'm happy about it. I'm happy that I'm currently the only one aggressively moving across the country, picking up the best of the best that the country's got to offer. I have no doubts that when we eventually get through the resource definition stage and export stage, and we're waving the flag a little bit harder and stronger on the international stage, that we will see a lot of other groups come into the country, larger groups, multinationals, internationals, they will come into the country. They just for why they're not there now, I don't know, but certainly it's crazy for them not to be there for what I'm seeing. But I'm happy that they're not there yet, because I'm still trying to lock down the best locations, and we're doing that. So yeah, I'm sure it'll come, and I'm sure they'll come knocking on our door at some point. But as I said earlier, we won't be giving away the golden goose just yet.
Excellent. And now we've got one come through. It just says, what happened with Carboy?
Yeah, look, Carboy still sits there. It's a nickel sulfide asset, and the nickel price is just been decimated by the Indonesian nickel pig iron and oversupply. You've seen various nickel companies that have been dedicated to the nickel sulfide space for their entire sort of runnings have either shut down, looking at elsewhere, looking at doing other things. Nickel West is obviously closing in October for a period of time. Whether they ever get back up and going again is yet to be seen. But trying to get market support and adding value for our shareholders in nickel sulfide space it can't be done at the moment. And we're realists. We got very, very we had to take a hard decision. I'm a nickel bull. There's no doubt. I love nickel. Been in nickel for the last 20 years. Unfortunately, the current macro environment for nickel sulfide exploration plays is just non-existent.
Yeah.
And fortunately for us, we've managed to take a strong pivot to Timor, and I think it's going to work out. I think it's the right thing to do. So Carboy will sit there, sit in the portfolio. We'll maintain it. We have a caretaker out there who's maintaining the equipment and keeping an eye on things. There is other opportunities within the leases outside of the nickel sulfide. There is potential for gold and lithium. There's opportunity there. Not that we're going to be doing anything there yet, but maybe we may look for potential partners on that. So that's something to keep an eye on going forward. And we will maintain and hold those assets until the time comes that they become more valuable, or the market appreciates the value of those assets, so we can work on them and get some value for the shareholders from it.
Yeah, excellent, Chris. I think that's a perfect one to end on and wrap it all up. Everything sounds very, very promising, exciting, and I'm excited to see the projects come to life and the next 12 months and the outlook moving forward. Is there any last little notes you want to make before we call it a day?
Harry, thanks. I thank the viewers and their people and the questions and their time. As I'll reiterate, it's very early days for Estrella. We've got the tiger by the tail. There's an enormous amount of value that we see ahead of us. We are first movers into a country that's, I think, a sleeping giant. So stay tuned and go Estrella.
Excellent. And everyone, the webinar is recorded. So everyone watching, if there's something you missed or you just want to go back and check one of those slides, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. It'll be on our socials as well. And then Chris, you'll get a copy. I'm sure he'll put that out there to his websites or whatever he's going to do on his end. But like I said, I'm Harry McCaskill from Sharewise. It's been a pleasure, Chris. Thank you for your time. I do want to say, if anyone has any sort of questions regarding Estrella, be sure to reach out to Chris or us here at Sharewise. We're happy to be in contact. You can go on our website. We have a speak to an advisor form you can fill out, and you'll get a call from one of the advisors here. And I'm always happy to have a chat, and whether it's about Estrella or any other company on the ASX. Again, we're based in Sydney, and looking forward to following your projects, Chris. Like I said, but everyone enjoy the rest of the afternoon, and take it easy, Chris.
Thanks, Harry. Appreciate it.
No worries. Talk soon.
Thanks all. Cheers.